Ole Miss just landed a running back from Mississippi that is an old school Mississippi JUCO story. We'll tell you what that means. We'll talk new helmets, 9-game SEC schedule with Brad Logan. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. I'm your host, Steven Willis, and we bring in Brad Logan in just a second from Logan Digital Media to talk about where Ole Miss sits going into game week. A lot of stuff is breaking this weekend, though, and thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen, and give us a like, subscribe, and comment on your way out. And special thanks to the everydayers that make all of this possible. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is right around the corner. Visit FanDuel and their app today and start planning your future bets. Now, we got Brad Logan. We're going to bring him in. And listen, Brad, the thing that I think Maccaleb Taylor out of Grenada, he ran for like 2,700 yards this season, had a really big year for Grenada. Ended up, he was going to Northwest Community College right before school started. He announced that he was committed to Ole Miss and thanking Northwest for everything being brought in. This feels like an old school Mississippi junior college story from way back in like 2005.
Yeah, he was a great player for Coach Michael Fair and the Chargers, and Ole Miss is getting a really good running back, and someone I think it's safe to say kind of under the radar. Someone that kind of ran for that many yards in Mississippi, but yet no one was really talking about him. So a big component. There was also Billy Embody of On 3 also posted about an offensive lineman coming in from Iowa. I think it was Iowa Western, maybe.
Yeah, JUCO.
This happened just a little bit ago as you record on Friday. But offensive lineman from Iowa Western, Cooper Johnson, he's going to visit on Saturday. So we'll see what happens. Ole Miss's scrimmaging is closed, of course. We'll see if there's any fireworks this week from the scrimmage like there were last week. But they're going to scrimmage on Saturday, and as they get ready for the game next Saturday. But, yeah, great running back pickup. And I'm sure Coach Benji Parker in Northwest Community College was not happy that they're going to be losing probably their starting running back, if I had to guess.
Yeah, the information I got on the kid is Ole Miss was his dream school, and whenever he had the opportunity, he pounced on it right then. It was absolutely going to happen. And do you remember the linebacker out of Grenada during the Hugh Freeze years?
Bernard Avery?
Yeah, Gennard Avery. And Hugh Freeze and them didn't recruit this player. He ended up going to Memphis and later to the NFL and all of that. This feels like a reverse of that, to where a Grenada kid that wanted to go to Ole Miss gets the Ole Miss offer.
Yeah, and then we've seen Grenada put some really good players out there, and once again, Coach Ashley Kewen was there for a number of years, and then Michael Fair, who's the head coach now, does a tremendous job. Coach Mike Martin and others there at Grenada, just a big component of football in North Mississippi. Kind of went a little bit on the downhill slide, but then when Coach Fair came over from Lafayette, if memory serves, I think Grenada won the state championship. Maybe the last year or the year before, Steven. So if not, I know they played for it or got really far along in the playoffs. But definitely a spot to where Ole Miss is a recipient of a really good running back. And like I said, someone's kind of flying under the radar. Good news for Ole Miss and head coach Lane Kiffin. And definitely everyone's excited. The season kicks off next Saturday. And I know I'm ready to get the season started with Georgia State coming to town.
Yeah, and before we change the subject and talk about helmets and all of that, when I looked at his film, I just immediately mine went to Snoop Connor. Same type thing. Snoop Connor was a 3-star coming out of high school. He was going to go to Memphis at the last minute, decided to go to Ole Miss, and Lane Kiffin was able to develop Snoop Connor. All right, Brad, yesterday there was a surprise drop of a Realtree helmet. They were on a 2-year cycle, and they had one with the navy blue Realtree that was worn against Oklahoma. So everybody assumed that this year was going to be the navy blue again. Well, that didn't happen. They dropped a white helmet with a gray face mask, kind of a gray looking tint to the camo pattern, a better logo on the side of the helmet. This is a really good looking piece, man.
Yeah, I think it's the best piece. I exchanged some messages with Tyler Jordan, who's kind of the brainchild behind Realtree and does a wonderful job with all of this. And they'll roll out. I've also spoken with an apparel provider in town, and they're going to roll out all of the apparel that comes along with this. Is South Carolina, is that right, Steven, when they're going to debut?
Yeah, the South Carolina game is when they're wearing that.
So that's further on down the season. So there'll be some apparel, some hats, some hoodies, that sort of thing that'll coincide with this. And, if you remember the very first rollout, the NCAA or someone, they didn't sanction something because they had a Realtree logo or something. But I thought the first helmet was really good looking. But after looking at all three helmets lined up, this is probably my favorite. I really like what they're doing with the gray. I don't know, Steven, I know you're a big navy blue guy. So I'm hoping they'll go navy jerseys with gray pant with this helmet. I think that's going to look awesome. But then again, they usually don't ask my opinion about what the uniform combination is going to be. Ole Miss has some great uniform combinations. And the great part about it is anytime someone throws out an idea, one person would love it, the other person would hate it. The uniform that kind of draws so much controversy is that Texas uniform. Navy blue helmet, white jersey with navy blue numbers, and navy blue pants with rebels down the side. You either hate that uniform or you love it. And I know exactly where you stand on that uniform because, I've had a lot of conversation pieces about it. But look, this is what the great part about having that Realtree combination of helmet is that it draws conversation. And it draws conversations with people like you and me, and it gets social media buzzing. That's what I know people won't like this when I say it, but I thought Mississippi State did a wonderful job by how they rolled out their new logo, or the newer logo of the MSU on the side of the helmet that kind of was back in the heyday of Jackie Sherrill in the late 1990s. But I thought the university did a really good job of rolling that out. I thought Coach, or should I say Athletic Director Zach Selman, has done a great job of listening to the fans. And I think in turn, Ole Miss has done a really good job too. Anytime they roll out a new product, and with this new Realtree helmet, I think it looks awesome. And I think it's the best helmet that they've rolled out in the collaboration with Realtree.
Yeah, I was communicating with Tyler Jordan today, and I wasn't communicating over the navy blue jerseys because that's what they're going to wear against South Carolina. I was just talking how good would that helmet look with a white jersey with red numbers, the traditional Ole Miss road jersey with white pants. How good would that look? Even bring back the navy blue number jersey. We just talked about that. Put that out there with that helmet. That'd look fantastic. This is the most versatile Realtree helmet that they've come up with.
Yeah, the biggest conversation piece is that uniform that we talked about when they played Texas over in Austin, and then the Eli Manning senior year uniform where they just completely changed the shoulder stripe and put the stripe here and had the two-tone numbers. That either you love that or you hated that. That was kind of on both sides of the spectrum. But I do think the uniform combinations they have now, the concept they have with Nike, the traditional one-color number with the UCLA stripe, to me is one of the best uniforms in college football. And
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just saying yeah, go ahead.
They need to bring back the gray uniform, the gray jerseys.
The Bo Wallace gray uniforms.
The Bo Wallace grays. They need to bring that back as well.
The Jeremiah Masoli gray, that one was a little,
the one that they decided to debut against Cam Newton. The one that, we're going to break it out for a special occasion against Cam Newton.
Yeah, it definitely was something different. I like the Bo Wallace grays maybe a little bit more, but I just love the traditional gray pants. I love the powder helmet, the helmet, the 89 powder, the 90 powder versus the newer powder. To me, maybe, and I thought about this the other day, maybe to look more like that late 80 powder is to do a matte helmet versus a shiny helmet. Maybe you get the Riddell Speed and do the matte finish instead of the glossy finish. But yeah, I'm excited to see that uniform. I'm excited to see the helmet up close. It's hard to see in the picture. I'm trying to see if it's how much is gray, how much is white. But I do like the face mask a lot. I don't know that Ole Miss has ever worn that color of face mask. You may have to correct me on that, but I don't remember seeing an anthracite face mask.
Yeah, it looks like the normal powder blue face mask, if we're going to
Really?
be honest.
Okay.
Yeah. And also you could take that helmet and put the navy blue face mask on it, and it would look fantastic that way too.
So you think it's the powder gray face mask?
Yeah, I think it's the powder face mask. It's just the white helmet that kind of throws it off. And when Austin Simmons and Suntaran Perkins were looking at it, they referred to it as a gray helmet. We've never had a gray helmet. So I am curious to what it will look like as well.
Well, it was good looking. And then, like I said, I can't say enough about how much, Ole Miss fans should really appreciate what Tyler Jordan and his family have done for Ole Miss. So much so, I think there are some usual suspects when you talk about branding. I know the University of Memphis released some information that they were actually putting FedEx in their end zone. We've seen Arkansas put Tyson. We've seen Pilot on Tennessee's field. I think the next step
going to do Auburn.
Yellowwood's doing Auburn. That's right. And so I would expect Ole Miss to jump on that train soon. Doesn't appear that's going to happen this year, but I would expect. I think it was Ben Garrett actually posted or said on his show that he expects maybe something to happen next year. So I do anticipate that happening. I would think the Jordan family, who, by the way, if folks have never been inside the the Manning Center, they actually do sponsor the field inside the Manning Center. So we'll see what happens down the road, but I think the Jordan family is definitely someone that has been a huge component of Ole Miss athletics.
All right, when we come back, we will talk to Brad about the SEC going to 9 conference games next year. Why will that be beneficial for Ole Miss? Why would that hurt Ole Miss? We will get Brad's opinion on that next. But first, I want to tell you, August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day. It is a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bowl predictions and preseason hunches. If you watch this channel, you probably fit that bill. Just for 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you great deals on the NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. And that is music to our ears. So take a flyer on the MVP race. I am all about Jaden Daniels putting up massive numbers this year for the Washington Commanders. Crown your champion in August. I really do like Buffalo here. Maybe it's Hard Knocks, but I don't know exactly why, but I like Buffalo to win their first Super Bowl. Or parlay your division winner dark horses. Hello, New Orleans. Hello, Miami. We will see how that goes. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bet now, because Futures Day is in one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Guys, you've probably heard about Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Ready. Rougiette Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike usual pills that can take hours, Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average, about 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and control when the moment is right. If traditional options have not worked, Rougiette might be the answer. For over 150,000 men, they have already made the switch. I love that it's completely online. Rougiette connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your door. You can even read real customer reviews on their site. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present about the moment. Head to Rougiette.com/LockedOnCollege, all one word, and use the code LockedOnCollege, again, all one word, to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege, and use the promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but they're not FDA approved, and they don't undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, and manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information. So we're going down, and we're going to get back to Brad right here. the SEC is going to a 9-game conference schedule with a 10th Power 4 game. They're really upping the strength of schedule. I like, and I have my idea, I think State, obviously a permanent opponent. LSU, obviously a permanent opponent. I'm on the Arkansas train for the third one. What says you, Brad?
I'm with you. I think it needs to be Arkansas. A lot of the models that we saw a couple of years ago actually had Arkansas as that third team. I saw a couple of models at On 3 that had possibly South Carolina. Saw a couple of models that had Vanderbilt. But everything I've seen has been State, LSU, and then insert third team here. I think any of those three would be okay with me. But I think you have to have Mississippi State, and I think you have to have LSU.
Yeah, the Mississippi State and LSU game, those are non-negotiables. That absolutely has to happen. The third one could be Arkansas. I've heard rumors about Tennessee potentially being a team that would warrant that. Vanderbilt, obviously, if they came back on the schedule, nobody would be surprised. And I've seen the Texas A&M and the South Carolina stuff as well.
But if you look at historically, Ole Miss has always had Mississippi State as a permanent. And even when the SEC was not, when it was split up into two different ones, Vanderbilt was always was Ole Miss's permanent, and then it rotated from there. But I do think Arkansas makes the most sense. Number one, geographically, but two, I think that the programs have had some really good rivalries over the last couple of years. You date back into Hugh Freeze versus Belima, the fourth and whatever that catastrophe was. You look at all of the overtimes with KJ Jefferson. Ole Miss stopped them on the 2-point conversion a couple of years ago. Ole Miss won in Fayetteville for the first time forever last year. And then 2 years before, Lane Kiffin had the heated vest, and Ole Miss got destroyed in Fayetteville. So it's definitely been back and forth. Ole Miss has had Arkansas's number the last couple of years for sure. But if you're asking me, I think the most fun would to keep that rivalry. I do think it's become a bit of a rivalry in football with Arkansas. And I think, although Arkansas fans, I've heard different Arkansas media say that they believe that they being Arkansas, should never lose to a Mississippi team. That's been said before. That obviously has not been proven to be true the last couple of years, but history would prove that Arkansas would be the better program over Ole Miss and Mississippi State, although that really hasn't come to fruition in regards to Ole Miss over the last couple of years. But to me, that's easily the third team that I think Ole Miss should be paired up with.
Yeah, and Arkansas, if you think about it, even going back to their Southwest Conference days, whenever they were in there with Texas and A&M and all that, they still played Ole Miss. The Ole Miss is the most played game that Arkansas has had from the SEC over the course of their history. So I think Arkansas wants that game to continue as well, because the roots that they've put in over the last 30 or something years in the Southeastern Conference, they want to keep that, as well as playing Texas, as well as playing Missouri. They need that root Ole Miss team to show up on their schedule. I think John Neighbors from Locked On Razorbacks was talking about that. Mm-hmm. They don't need to sever their tie to the original SEC members, because they've put down some pretty good roots over the last 30 or so years.
Yeah, I think John is kind of against playing Missouri, but he did have Ole Miss and Texas, and I forget the third team that he had. Mm-hmm. But you talk about Ole Miss and Arkansas, and that actually predates, like you said, the SEC. In years past, Coach Johnny Vaught and Coach Broyles, Ole Miss would play Arkansas, I think, in the Cotton Bowl a couple of years. This is way back. But they've always had that relationship, playing in Little Rock, playing in Jackson. I can remember Ole Miss playing Arkansas right when they first came inside the SEC, and a lot of those games were down in Jackson. And in fact, Ole Miss in the middle 1990s, I think 95 or 96, actually played Arkansas in Memphis, and it was Ole Miss's home game. A company, I think Morgan Keegan, bought that game out. Back then, if you remember, Vaught-Hemingway only held about 38,000 people. Now, of course, Vaught-Hemingway is tipping in the late to many past 60, 65, 68, even 70,000. So, obviously Ole Miss can take all those people on, like, and they couldn't do that before when they had it back at the Liberty Bowl. So there's definitely history there, and I think it's a great opportunity to continue that rivalry with Arkansas.
Yeah, you're talking about playing up in Memphis. They did that a couple of times because 95 and 96 was the super probation. They didn't even paint the end zones during that time because Pete Boone, it cost too much money, and they were trying to cut everywhere they could because Ole Miss got such punitive hit from the NCAA over that. They had to make up money because there's like a 2 or 3 year television ban. There was a multi-year bowl ban, and it was all over, I guarantee you, less than what Michigan did a couple of years ago. Now, one thing that's interesting about this, and this is my favorite part of this, I think, the new scheduling structure that they're going to do means they're going to play 3 teams every year, but they're basically going to play every other team in the SEC every other year. Mm-hmm. So if you come to school as a freshman, you will get to play at every stadium. And the reason that's important, Georgia has still not gone to Texas A&M. They have not played a game in College Station. Those days are over.
What is the one with Florida, Steven? Do you remember? It's like Florida has not played this team in like 20-something years. I forget what it is, but it's some of the numbers about some of these teams that haven't played the other teams in the different back when it was split the divisions. It's just insane. So
since 2000 or 99 or something like that, Ole Miss has played Texas Tech more than they played Tennessee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee, by the way, Ole Miss played Peyton Manning in Tennessee and Memphis, which was, crazy back then. I think that was 1996 maybe when Peyton was in Tennessee, and that was an absolute bloodletting. But I think I like the scheduling part of it. I think Brandon Marcello made a really good point. Teams that are used to going 8-4 better get used to going 6-6 and 7-5.
Yeah, because, but I made fun of that post because you change one game, but the record's going to change 2 games. They're trying to make that point. It's like if you're used to going 8-4, get ready to go 7-5. If they did that, I'd have no problem with it.
Yeah, but I think and obviously the point is you're giving away an Alcorn State and you're picking up a South Carolina or you're picking up a Alabama, and so it's going to be much different. And it's very similar to what Ole Miss faced in the COVID year in 2020, when I think Ole Miss went 5-5. They played 10 conference games, and you'll have to admit there were no off weeks. No. It was a situation where it was strapping on every single week, and I think we're going to get closer to that. Look, I think looking at this bigger picture, and I know this is a conversation for another day, but we heard Commissioner Greg Sankey talk about SEC Media Day when he opened it up. He talked about super conferences, and he actually used those words. And I think the SEC is close as they have ever been to being a superpower, a super conference. The question I have is at what point is the teams in those super conferences, whether it be the Pac-10, I'm sorry, not the Pac-10, but the Big Ten, the SEC, maybe even the Big 12, maybe the ACC. I don't know how it works out. But at some point, people are going to completely pull away from the NCAA, start the College Football Association, and have the super conferences. I think we're as close now as we have ever been.
Yeah, and before I let you go, I think that of the playoff, I think it's already decided that they're going to go to the automatic qualifiers, the 4-4-2-2, 1-3. That whenever the SEC did this and adding a Power 4 game, automatic qualifiers are going to have to be on the table. So I feel pretty confident in what I've said for 6 months about that.
Yep, I have no doubt that Commissioner Sankey and his team were in a room when the college football playoff was announced last year and said, okay, not if, but when, what are we going to do to fix this? And so I think at that point they said, well, let's go to 9 and let's look at the whole ball of wax. No more buys. Let's just seed them and let's just play football. And I think, once again, I think this is much larger than what we're seeing right now. What we're seeing now from a playoff perspective is not probably what we'll see next year or the next year. I think we're so close to expanding the playoff, reverting, if you will, away from computers and away from human element, and let's put this on the field. Let's make the decisions of who makes the playoff on the field and stop this ridiculous computer, stop the human element. Let's talk about winning on the field. And I think we're getting closer to that. And I, in turn, think we're getting closer to a super conference in regards to how we determine who gets in the playoff. And most importantly, pulling away from the NCAA and creating a college football society. And quite frankly, and let's call it what it is, the minor leagues to the NFL.
So what do you got going on this week over at the Logan Digital Network and On3, bud?
Well, of course, high school football is cranking up. We'll have the scoreboard show on WFCA. That's the 100,000 watt flamethrower all across the state of Mississippi. So we're excited to get that going. There'll be play-by-play that will be getting kicked off. I'm just really excited about continuing the Red and Blue Crew podcast with David Johnson. And as we get things cranked up for next Saturday, it's Ole Miss and Georgia State. I'm just ready for the season to get here and to see how the Rebels will do. And we'll have full coverage for you on the podcast and on the Logan Media Network.
All right, Brad, thank you very much for stopping by. And thanks, everybody, for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves on having the most comprehensive perspectives out there, which is why we're the front door of Ole Miss sports. If you don't believe me, Google Ole Miss podcast and see what comes up. We're like 80% of that page. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, like it, comment. It helps the show and it's completely free. Your support means the world to us. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes in college football's landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hotty toddy, everybody. And remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you later.